All right, lesson 4. As usual, we're going to go over the basics. We're going to do a quick review because remember, you are building a skill. The reason why most people can't lose fat calmly and peacefully and enjoyably and keep it off is because they don't have the skills. That's all it is. And as with any skill, it's all about repeating it and practicing it. Okay, so let's go back. We're going to start today. I want to go over first, real quick, the physics of fat loss. Okay, remember, it's at the end of the day, it's going to come down to calories. Down here, remember, we got um, the calorie categories. Let's see if we can zoom here. So if you remember, we got um, carbs, fats, proteins, and alcohol. Okay, carbs are 4 calories in a gram. Fats are 9 calories in a gram. Protein is 4 calories in a gram, and alcohol is 7 calories per gram. Okay, this is extremely important to remember. Okay, the insights that information gives you. Right. This is why oily, fatty, greasy, butters, rich sauces, they're much more calorie dense. And so those are the things that we want to really keep an eye on, right? Especially when they're combined with carbs and they're really easy to eat because they're so delicious. Okay. Um, Physics. Okay. 1 pound of body fat is 3,500 calories. We need to use 3,500 calories more than we take in over the course of the week to lose a pound of fat. Okay. Then then we go into what we just talked about, learning a new skill. So remember, relax, breathe, be patient. All right. We talked about the food enjoyment matrix. We talked about the nutrition protocol. Remember, phase 1, single ingredient foods, boxed and packaged foods. Using these two types of foods, we're going to make our quadrant 1 foods, which up here, if you remember, high enjoyment, low calorie density. That's effortless fat loss. Okay, and so before we go into today's topic, which is going to be Keystone foods, and then obviously yesterday we talked about the 7P framework. Planning produces peace. Prioritizing protein produces possibilities. So if we take a little bit of time to plan out and think about where am I going to get my protein today, right? Or plan out, okay, what am I going to do today because I'm going here or I'm doing this, blah blah blah. You will have much more peace when those situations come, and it doesn't take giant whiteboard to figure out what you're going to do, right? It could be as simple as pulling up the menu of the restaurant and saying, oh yeah, they got grilled chicken, I'm going to eat grilled chicken because the rest of the food is not that great or whatever, right? Or I'm gonna eat the grilled chicken because then I'm gonna also order, a dessert, whatever. Second part of that, prioritizing protein produces possibilities. Focusing on the protein intake allows you to have much more optionality, allows for the possibilities of consuming things that are quote unquote bad for you, which we know, right? That there's no such thing as good or bad. It's just different combinations of carbs, fats, proteins, vitamins, and minerals. That's it. It's just atoms. That's all there is. All of the good, bad is things humans put on top of it. Now, let's get into today's topic, which is going to be Keystone foods. Okay, we want to have 3 to 4 Keystone foods. All right, and first and foremost, let's talk about what is a Keystone food. Okay. Oops, it's over here. All right. So Keystone foods, high in protein, high in enjoyment, low in calorie density. Okay. So these two first pieces, high enjoyment, low calorie density, what is that? That is, if we remember up here, that's our where are we at? That's our quadrant 1 foods, right? And so then number 4 is convenient. When I talk about convenience in regards to food, I'm talking about 2 very specific things, okay? I'm talking about It's fast and easy to cook, clean, prep. Okay. The more complicated you make it, the more steps are involved, the more complicated the recipe, the less likely that you're going to make fat loss effortless and peaceful. So this is very important, convenient and practical, right? Then easy to track, meaning it has less than 5 ingredients. Okay, so when something is this huge, um, you know 12, 14, 20 ingredient thing, and it takes you 45 minutes to prep it, not that you can't do that. Again, there's no good and bad, but the probability that you can do it easily and integrate it easily into your day goes down. That's all. So we want to stack the chips in our favor. What one of my mentors, Dan Nicholson, calls rigging the game. Okay, we want to rig the game in our favor. We want to have to do as little effort as possible to get the highest return. Okay, so whereas a lot of people, they start trying to do these complicated recipes, which is why they end up not following through. They try to do this complicated meal prep. They plan on, oh, I'm going to take 2 hours or 3 hours once a week and make all my food. That's fine. We know that that doesn't work for most people, and you don't need to do it, right? I personally don't like that. I never liked the whole, have all these, I got to organize everything and do all this meal prep 3 hours on a Sunday. I don't like that. I like to know, hey, I got Keystone Foods on deck, okay, ready to go. So having 3 to 4 Keystone Foods will make fat loss flexible and effortless. Okay, so now I'm going to go over a few examples here, okay? One of the simplest Keystone Foods, a protein shake, okay? So like this guy has 42 grams of protein and 230 calories, 3.5 fat, 9 carbs. This is amazing, okay? You do 2 of these in a day, you're pretty much, for most people, you're almost at your goal, right? You've taken away, like for most people, you've taken care of almost half of your protein. For some people who have lower protein targets, mainly women, you've taken care of like more than half of your protein. I'll give you other examples. And these are just examples that are like prepackaged and very high on the convenience and easy to track list, right? Because how easy is this to track? I just scan the barcode and macro factor. Now, then there's stuff like this, okay? This is baked pork rinds. And like, check out the macros on this guy, okay? So in this bag, there's 5 servings. You got 2.5, in one serving, you got 2.5 grams of fat and 11 grams of protein, 0 carbs. That is amazing. And this thing is delicious. So, I like to use this with like, I'll eat this with like a really spicy salsa or something like that. But even by themselves, they're great. And so if I wanted to, I could eat this whole bag and that would give me 55 protein and 12.5 fat. Perfect. This is amazing. And then of course, in as far as Keystones go, like I'm gonna suggest some and I'm gonna give a list as well, but this is where the burritos came from. If you prep the meat, it takes, and I'll show you, like I'll share the cooking recipes. It should not take you more than about 6 to 8 minutes to cook the meat, and you could probably make about 4 burritos, and depending on the person, that's good for 2 days, right? 1 or 2 days. That's where the burrito diet came from. Then you have cheese quesadillas, fat-free cheese. This is like one of the simplest things. You just put it in the on the pan, on the skillet or the pan, put the cheese on it, fold it up, boom, good to go. One of those cheese quesadillas has like, around 30 grams of protein, almost no fat, and like 20 grams of carbs. Another amazing, and it again takes about 5 minutes. Okay, so we want to start to figure out 3 to 4 keystone foods, and we can, and there's things that you can take, and they might not be an ideal keystone food because they're not quadrant one. We can make things turn into quadrant one. For example, the burrito is not typically quadrant one, it's usually quadrant two. If we remember, we're looking up here, quadrant two, which is high enjoyment but high calorie density. But by making it ourselves and lowering the fat content, we can make it quadrant one, right? And so you can do that with so many things. Sometimes I'll do burgers. Burgers are another great quadrant one thing that you can make. Typically quadrant two, you can turn it into quadrant one. Sandwiches, my God, underrated, so underrated. Okay, you could put chicken in it, you could put deli meat in it, you could put whatever you want in it. Okay, so that's something that I want you to try. I have a bunch of recipes, and I'll share. We'll probably have a week of like just going over the keystones that I use on a regular basis. But send me your thoughts and ideas of things that you want to make into a keystone food, or and we can brainstorm and then refine those recipes. Before I forget, one of the simplest, greatest options, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We look at who are the leanest people on the planet. Historically, they're bodybuilders. And why do they eat certain things? Because they are keystone foods. They don't call it that, but that's what they are. So like if you take ground beef and rice, classic keystone food right there. Lean ground beef, rice. You could take chicken breast and rice. Put some teriyaki sauce on it. Classic keystone food right there. And so there's a lot of options like that we don't need to get like overly fancy. Okay, that's one of the reasons like even we care about closing the gap between where we are and where we are trying to get. The fanciness takes away. So even with like a lot of my content, I don't care to make the fanciest transitions and things and editing. I just want you to get the right information that closes the gap. And so fanciness is not a requirement to effective videos. We're trying to convey the right information in the right way. Same thing when it comes to food and keystone foods. It's not about being fancy. It's about closing the gap in a reliable, consistent, enjoyable, practical way. Because I'll tell you what, because we do these things because it's we are attracted to shiny objects and all this kind of stuff, and it's exciting to I'm gonna buy this thing and I'm gonna do all this stuff. I'll tell you what's really exciting. One, that you're eating delicious foods, because if their keystone food is delicious to you, you're eating delicious foods every single day. And then two, let me tell you what's most exciting, the results that it brings you peacefully. Those results are pretty damn exciting. So again, we're going to repeat a lot of stuff. We're going to continue to focus on the basics. We're going to ignore all the unnecessary things. We're going to focus on the vital few and ignore the trivial many. Okay? Vital few, trivial many. What is the vital few for fat loss? Hit your calorie targets in enjoyable, practical ways. Keystone foods, quadrant one. And then two, make sure your movement is where it needs to be. Okay, we're hitting our 10,000 steps. And three, remember, like your demeanor and your state of mind, your state of being is the most important thing. Calm, peaceful, relaxed. We know what we're doing. We're not guessing here, right? So we're not going to be doing all this stuff in a state of doubt, uncertainty, fear, whatever kind of frustration. We're not going to do that because that's why you're here. I'm going to tell you how to exactly do it. Okay. So I will see you tomorrow. We've covered all of these topics. We're gonna start now. We're gonna start zooming. We've gone in. We looked at the overview. We've gone in piece by piece, and now we're gonna start zooming out. Okay. So the thing that we're gonna talk about tomorrow and the next few days. Okay, so it's not here. But the thing we're going to talk about is the friction index, okay? System reliability, okay? System reliability. We want to increase the reliability and the probability that we get what we want. There's 3 pieces to this when it comes to fat loss, okay? Training, nutrition, and human behavior. Guess which one is the most unreliable? This piece. So that's what we'll start to break down and cover, and keep doing what you're doing. I will see you tomorrow.